Yes, puppy's at home waiting for you.
Where's Daddy?
He'll be here in a minute. He went to go drop Katie's stuff off.
Okay.
What are you singing in your head?
Beyonce.
What song?
Oh, I farted.
Happens.
Well, honey? What? Everything good?
Hey.
Hey.
Meatball.
Meatball?
Mom, why do you have 3 eyeballs?
Don't cry, baby.
Hey! What's your name?
My name's Steve.
Hey!
Hey.
My Minecraft dude's name is Steve.
He said his name is Heath.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
You want to play Minecraft with me?
I've never played Minecraft.
You should. It's fun to do math and everything. Oh, you should play Fortnite.
I've never heard of that one either. I've heard of Minecraft.
Mama,
What?
we should go see Jake Paul.
Okay.
He's like a celebrity. He went viral for making vines. Mama, what is this here on my arm?
That would be a cast.
What's cast?
A
Oh wait, no,
temporary
I know what
cast.
that is. What happened here? Did I get shot or something?
No, he put an IV in your arm.
Mama,
What?
we should go walk. Oh, what you doing there? I'll go back to I'll go back to Dubai. I miss my llamas. Wait. Is Jeffrey okay?
Who the hell's Jeffrey?
My orangutan! Is Jeffrey okay? Please tell me he's okay.
Where'd you leave him?
I left him in Dubai.
They didn't put your tongue in your bag. Your tongue is in your mouth.
No, it's not because I don't feel it.
It is.
It feels that I don't feel it.
It is. I promise you it is.
No, you put it in the bag.
All right. Well, they put the tongue in the bag, and when you get home, you're gonna put it back on.
But they don't have the tools.
I have the tools at home. I'll put your tongue back. I promise.
You better.
They feel cool. And they're soft now because I put chapstick.
Ollie will be a good comfort for you.
I love Ollie so much. He's like my favorite dog. He's so cute. And he's so soft. I don't know why people don't like dogs. That's just so weird. Because dogs are like the best thing on this whole planet. I think they're my favorite animal ever. The other day, when we were in Colorado Springs, I saw a puppy, and that puppy was so cute. He was just like one big wrinkle. Can you imagine that? A wrinkly puppy? Wrinkly puppies are so cute, especially when they're puppies, because puppies are so cute. I love dogs. They're so cute. Do you guys love dogs too?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because we have a dog. If we had a dog and you didn't love dogs, that would just be weird.
I hope everybody gets anesthesia every night.
Best night's sleep ever, huh?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to punch you.
So who are you, Kaylee? What are you doing with that on your arm?
I am Thor. This is my hammer.
Wow. Look, Grayson, look who Kaylee was being. She's
Grayson, I'm Thor.
You're Thor?
This is my hammer. Ready? Watch this.
Oh, you got me.
Uh-oh.
Grayson!
You killed him.
No, you didn't. Look, he was pretending.
It's okay. It's okay.
Look. Look. Hey, look, Catherine. Catherine, look, Grayson's just fine. He was pretending.
Don't do that again.
Okay, he won't do that again. That wasn't very nice of Grayson. That made you sad inside. You love Grayson, don't you?
I'd have to speak at his funeral.
You would have to speak at his funeral? What would you say?
I'm so sorry for killing Grayson.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good, but you didn't. You did it.
Would I be a murderer on like the rest of my life? I'll never go to college or get a job because I murdered my own brother because I am Thor.
Why would I have a Sharpie in the bathroom?
That's in the bathroom? That picture's in the bathroom?
Yes, sir.
Red carpet in it?
Yes, sir.
Well, you might have one. I just wanna
Why
say
would I
that.
want to put a Sharpie? I mean, right on the Sharpie in the bathroom? That just sounds weird.
That's awesome.
I've had lots of sedatives and anesthesia in my life, but never like that. I want those happy drugs. I don't know about you.
So I did have an experience with that. So I took both my twin girls when they were teenagers to get their braces, and they had to get some work done. And we took them, they had anesthesia, and afterwards, and one of them, who's very sweet, Angelica, she's extremely sweet. If you haven't met her, she's sweet, she's goofy. And for some reason, she became very belligerent.
Oh?
And so she's sitting with me and her sister in the office, and I'm making payments afterwards, and she's just staring at me. And I could feel her staring at me. I'm like, okay, this is a little weird. And then she starts touching my ear and says, "You have such small ears." And I hear the lady typing, she's snickering. We get out of there, we go into the parking lot, she bumps into a tree branch, and then she just turns, she goes, "You want to fight?" I was like, just get in the car. Yeah, so I've experienced that firsthand.
So much fun. Good morning, everyone. How are you? We can do a little better than that. Come on, how are we doing this morning? That's what I like. Here at Ford Point, we're a community of faith, hope, and love, helping people find their because we believe you were born on for a and we want to be part of that story any way we can.
Absolutely. If you're new here to Ford Point, we want to give you a very special welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. We hope that at some point this morning when you came in, you were able to get a free gift, a banana nut bread and a little package as a welcome and a thank you. If you haven't, don't worry. At some point before you leave today, right outside these doors, there's a welcome table there. There's somebody there you can talk to. They'll be happy to give it to you as appreciation for joining us. So, a few things to expect while you're here this morning. Over the next 75 minutes or so, there's really not going to be a right way or wrong way to do it. You can participate by standing, sitting, enjoying some water, some coffee, some popcorn. We're just so very appreciative that you joined us this morning.
If you are a guest here, we invite you to pull out your cell phone right now and text the word welcome to 315-883-2213. That'll get you to our digital connection card, and we can get a little more information from you. While you have your phone out, if you want to jump to social media, it is a great way to connect with Facebook and Instagram, sharing a like or a post. You never know who it's going to reach on a Sunday morning or any time of the week. And last but not least, please download our Church Center app. That is our calendar of events. That is our life groups, prayer requests, giving, all of the fun things that you could need in one spot. We do recommend downloading that today.
Yes, and right now we're going to release the children. So where are the children at?
Children?
It's time, right there.
Children.
There you go. Just head right to the
Go
back.
join Miss Kaylee in the back.
And that's it.
And we're going to continue with our gathering. Thank you.
Good morning, Ford Point. Hey, it's so great to see all of you here. My name is Jimmy. If you're new to Ford Point, I'm one of the pastors here, and it's so great to see some kind of change maybe in the weather patterns. The last few Sundays, it's been like ice storm and then winter storm, and then even this morning it's still snowing, but the temperatures, they are rising. So hopefully we are on to some greener and sunnier days. That would be exciting. Just to give you guys a continued update on what's happening on the building across from Love Handles. We had some more demo go on this last week. So this is a picture of what you're looking at is that back corner is where the stage would be. So if you see the kind of the outline of the facility we're working on to moving into, that picture that you were looking at is this area right here. So there's still some work to be done there, but a lot of things are happening there. It's pretty cool. Last week I showed you a picture of the ladder that was doing a lot of work there the week before, but you'll see some more of the walls are coming down there, and this is what this area is going to look like here, when it's all said and done. So lots going on there. We have a meeting going on later on today to kind of hammer out some more details and funds that are going to be needed for that. So we look forward to sharing some more of that vision for you that is going to be happening over the next few months as we prepare to move into our own space. Super exciting. We are, in the middle of this series called Level Up. I'm a big fan of watching the news. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a story this last week of these people who are kayaking in the water, and out of nowhere, this guy's kayaking, and this whale just comes and swallows. Did you see this? This whale just came and swallowed this kayaker for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then he popped back up. Somehow he got out of there. In other news, as soon as he got home, he bought a one-way ticket to Nineveh. So he is going to be listening to the Lord from now on, is what I hear as a result of this experience. So pray you don't have a similar experience, or stay out of the water if you're not listening to God. One of the things that we are dealing with, having a recent or a new 3-year-old in our house, is we're having to work through temper tantrums. We're back at temper tantrums. Ishii is a great kid, little kid. We love having in our house, but he has this initial defense mechanism where he just will scream, right? And it may not even be that he doesn't like what we're doing, but his initial reaction, no matter what, is to just scream. We'll ask him, hey, do you want this cake? And he screams, is like, no. And then he looks at it for a second and he's like, I want some cake, right? And we're like, we just asked you, and if there's something that we tell him to try to instruct him or to discipline him, then he will sometimes just go all out into a temper tantrum. Now, I know none of you guys do that in your life, experience that, but this little 3-year-old in the middle of wherever we're at, it could be here, it could be at the YMCA, wherever, he will just start screaming and fall to the ground and pretend like he is being tortured, bloody murder, right? And you look at somebody in that kind of state of mind, and you think, what is going through their minds where they think that this is some kind of appropriate response, right? Like what is their brain telling them that they are communicating, that they think that this bout of noise and motions that they're making is going to help them achieve their goal? When has temper tantrums ever really done that? Sometimes we do it just to get the kid to stop doing it if we're in a public area. But like that video we showed earlier of wisdom teeth being pulled, there's something about, drugs, something about temper tantrums where we find ourselves in kind of these out of state, out of mind experiences, right? We're doing things where we probably normally wouldn't. We're doing things that it doesn't seem like there's anybody manning the control center of our bodies or our minds. And just in case you didn't make it in here this morning to see the initial video, I put together another video of some funny anesthesia videos to share with you. It's a little short here.
I'm kind of like if G.I. Joe and Tupac had a baby.
That's you?
That's what I am.
I'm my mom. I'm your mom. I don't want who I am.
I have the most beautiful mother in the world. She is so pretty. I'm like, whoa.
My face is gonna explode.
I okay.
Be like that tomorrow. Take my pants off. Claire? You see her? Mm-hmm. Mom, she is pretty too.
Are you tired?
I don't even know yet. Claire, tell me again about the street.
They call me Desperado. Moo.
I'm pretty too.
Yes, you
I
are.
know I'm pretty.
I think I'm like a baby. I know I'm a baby.
You're not a baby. It's just a medicine.
I am not. No, I'm a baby. I swear.
You are a good ghost.
I'm a cat. Yeah.
Do you know I flew? I was flying.
Yeah, there's something about drugs that can take us to this kind of out-of-state mind where we're doing all sorts of weird things that we wouldn't normally do in life. Well, we started off this series talking about, leveling up. When it comes to leveling up in your life, what got you to where you are will not get you to where you're called. Right, whatever activity, whatever hobby, whatever level of skill that you're at in any area, what got you to where you're at will not take you to where you need to go to get better. And the same is true for life. Like what has gotten you to where you're at today is great, but God has called all of us to level up. And what has gotten us to where we are will not take us to where we are called. And we started off looking at this idea that Peter, his goal as a pastor to the New Testament church in his writings, he says, my job is to stir you up. Right? My job is to kind of rattle the cage. My job is to kind of poke the bear to get you to think beyond just the comfort level of where you're at, but to think about what does it look like to level up in your relationship with God. And he gave us this picture of these different things that kind of work in tandem and that you can't fully enter into some of them without adding some of these other things in your life. And that's where we started off with the first week. And then the second week, we looked at this idea that spiritual leveling up, it's not about replacing milk with meat, but it's about adding it to the meal. A lot of times in Christian circles, we kind of have this idea that, we want the meat, right? Like you're really a super spiritual Christian when you're able to handle the meat and, say goodbye to the milk. But really, it's not just replacing milk for meat for milk. It's about adding it to the menu. We still need the things that got us to where we are, but are we adding things to our diet, to our spiritual diet that are hard for us, that require some work, that are going to help us level up in our life. And the last week, we really dove into this idea of intimacy, and intimacy is not about what is on your body, but what is in your mind. So we kind of, in our culture and our society, we just immediately jump to intimacy being about, what happens in the bedroom or about more romantic relationships. But that's really just surface level, superficial when it comes to the heart behind intimacy, right? The picture of intimacy that we were designed for is found in Genesis, where Adam and Eve were there in the presence of God, and they were naked, and they felt no shame, right? To have that kind of vulnerability, to have that kind of community where you could just be and exist, and there's no second guessing yourself or looking at the other person and comparing. That's the heart of intimacy, and you can be intimate with people and have all sorts of layers of clothes on, and you can be naked with somebody and never experience true intimacy. And last week we really pressed into what does it look like to pursue intimacy in our lives, to confess our sins to each other, and in doing so, finding ourselves healed and whole as a community. So today we're going to continue on with this idea of what does it look like to level up. Now, in our society, when we think about these different struggles that we may have, I was super blessed after last Sunday. Really, the whole week was just kind of these different moments where people were expressing how meaningful it was for them. And even more than just, saying, hey, it was really meaningful conversation to be able to experience, like in our life group, people starting to share and be vulnerable and be open was really a huge encouragement to me. So I felt like, we kind of need to have a part two of what we talked about last week, to kind of really dive in a little deeper in this area because it feels like it's kind of like the linchpin to being our version of the New Testament church. Like our world today, our culture is so, coming out of COVID, is so isolated, so divided, and it really feels like the linchpin to help us really begin to shine in contrast to the world and the culture around us is going to be found in being vulnerable and being intimate in the purest way possible. Now, it's easy for us to recognize things like pornography as the obvious villain to intimacy, right? But the reality is any addiction is, in fact, the enemy of intimacy. We've been looking at this circle and kind of looking at this big picture of what it looks like to level up. And for the most part, right, we start on the outer rings and in our relationships with each other and our relationships with God. It starts off very much invitational, very inviting. And as we move in, it gets harder. As we move in further into the circle, the invitation goes down and the challenge goes up. You've probably experienced that. If you've just come to any kind of church maybe once or every once in a while, you start to realize like it starts to feel like this maybe isn't cutting it. Maybe I should make more of an effort to be there more regularly or every week or to start serving, right? There's probably some kind of pull or push that you felt that's going to require more of me than just for the last, months or years of my life where I just got to walk in and nobody knew me and I sat in the dark and it's been great. And that probably felt comfortable. But if you're going to level up in your faith, gradually it's going to become harder and harder. The invitation goes down and the challenge goes up. Because what got you to where you are will not take you to where you're called. And last week we looked at it's the same thing for this idea of intimacy, right? When we start off on the outside, things are very superficial. There's a good chance you came in this morning, and if it's your first time or you're newer, like you just didn't lay out your deepest, darkest secrets. The people that said hi to you didn't just say, hey, here's my deepest, darkest secrets. There's kind of this level of, we're getting to know each other, and it's a little superficial, and that's okay. It's actually healthy. It would probably be a red flag, in fact, if it was the opposite, if we did just start, leading out with our deepest, darkest secrets. But in this leveling up process, in this process of leveling up in our faith, the superficial is bound to decrease, and the intimacy will increase. As you get known in a life group, and as maybe you tiptoe and start to share some, personal stuff, and then, after years of knowing each other in this life group and building this relationship, all of a sudden you find yourself sharing things that you've never told anyone before. Because part of this leveling up process is the superficial goes down, the intimacy goes up, because we were created for intimacy, and in intimacy we find this healing. And we looked at last week this idea that intimacy is the backdrop of this leveling up process, and we can't do it alone. We need the other people in this room to be able to level up in our faith. We need the other people in this room to be able to experience intimacy. So this morning, as we continue on with this idea, normally it takes me a while to kind of warm up into the verse, but we're just going to kind of launch right into it. We're going to go back to Peter and some of his words for us, and he says this around this idea of sober-mindedness. He says, be alert and of sober mind. He says, your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Now, in our culture, if I use the word sober, if I use the word drunk, there's a good chance that you're immediately going to go to alcohol. Because that's kind of how our culture has reduced it to. But in the scriptures, what you're going to find is this idea of being sober-minded is a lot bigger than just alcohol. A lot bigger than just what happens when you drink a little bit too much alcohol. The reality is it is possible for you and for me to have a drunk mind. Because this is really the definition of being drunk says Google. It says losing control of one's faculties or behavior. Those crazy people on anesthesia, they were in essence drunk. Right? They weren't controlling themselves. They didn't know what was going on. She thought she was Thor and she was killing her brother because she had the little poop thing that she had in her arm pointing at people. Right? That is classic definition of losing control of one's faculties or behavior. Now, we can all agree it wasn't her fault or it wasn't their fault. They were having surgery and this was part of the process. But outside of surgeries and having your wisdom teeth pulled, and outside of alcohol, there is a lot of us that live in a drunk state, right? Where we lose control of our faculties or behavior. It could be a little 3-year-old Ishi throwing a temper tantrum. Or it could be somebody on a computer screen late at night by themselves. It could be in front of a TV where you just can't stop watching this show and you binge watch until 4 or 5 in the morning, right? Like there's something inside you that just compels you, that says, I gotta do this and I probably shouldn't. It's not good for me. It's not healthy. It's not helping me achieve who I want to be in life, but I just can't not do it. And according to the biblical definition, you and I would be considered drunk. And Peter says, what I need you to do, if you want to level up in your faith, you need to be somebody who is sober-minded, meaning that there are less and less things in your life that are controlling you, that are causing you to lose control of your faculties or behavior. So if being drunk is losing control of your faculties or behavior, then sober is just it's just not drunk. And Peter says to be sober-minded. That the process of leveling up is the things in your life that are taking control of you, that cause you to wonder where the last 4 hours of your life went. Those have got to come down. Those have got to be less and less in your life. Now, this is personal for me because I come from a very addictive kind of personality. You know, I've struggled with different things in my past, and I've used different things to replace those struggles, but that wasn't really healing or healthy, right? Replacing one addiction for another addiction isn't part of leveling up. So I've used things like video games. Man, there's some times where I'm playing zombies and Call of Duty till 3, 4 in the morning with other people, you know, in different places of the world, and that's not healthy. Right, well, if I can't put the controller down and press power off after a reasonable amount of time, then I am in essence drunk over zombies. Right now, I've been playing a whole lot of chess, right? I talked about chess last week, and sometimes I'm at the gym. I pull out my phone, and I'm playing chess, and I'm becoming drunk on chess. And it sounds weird to say, but it's something that it's just my mind is defaulting to, like, oh, you can pull this out when there's a free moment, when I should be looking at what in my life that God wants me to do that's going to help me achieve who he's called me to be. Maybe reading a book or talking with my wife or doing these, being just present amongst the people around us. Currently, that's what it is for me. And I would imagine there's probably some things in your life where you say, it doesn't have control over me, but if we watch the highlight reel of your life, there's some things that have got a little bit of control over you. There's probably some things that you just can't quite say no to. Like, oh yeah, I got it under control, but let's just do one more. One more episode or one more plate. And this idea is something that even Paul talks about in the New Testament. In Ephesians chapter 5, he talks about different things that how being drunk looks like in our life. He says in verse 3, he says, love turns into lust. We probably have all seen either through a movie or in real life someone who's kind of just unhealthily lusting after a relationship or to be involved with somebody, right? And love by itself, something pure, something that is from the heart of God, something created, we can become drunk on, and it turns to lust. It turns into a very unhealthy thing. And the challenge is to be sober-minded. He talks about how our talk, in verse 4, he says, our talk, the ability to communicate, a very healthy, good thing for us to have, but drunken, it can turn into gossip, or it can turn into dirty talk, unwholesome talk. In verse 5, he talks about faith, right? Faith, we would think, yes, that's a great thing, and it is a great thing, but faith can turn into religion. Somebody who's drunk on faith falls into religion where it becomes a very unhealthy thing in their life. right? These things that start off very pure, very good, from the heart of God, can turn into very ugly things. And Paul talks about that being in a drunken mindset. In verse 11, he says, work, which is a very good thing. We're all supposed to work. But work can turn into busy work. And I think about, man, how many of us have ever been at a point in our life where, so we don't have to deal with our problems, so we don't have to deal with the issues around us, so we don't have to deal with the thoughts in our head, we would just consume ourselves with work, busy work. And you and I, in that state, would be in a drunk stupor. Right? We are not in control of our faculties because we're using this external thing to kind of bring a quietness to what we're feeling on the inside. He goes on, he says in verse 18, he talks about actual alcohol, that drinking in of itself is not a bad thing, but drinking too much where you become drunk is, in fact, a bad thing. Because when you're drunk, you're not in control of your faculties. You're not in control. It's like this other version of you comes out. And he says that's not good. In fact, I want you to live sober-minded. Because everything, Ford Point, has some kind of dark side. Anything can be perverted. In fact, that's what the enemy's goal is to pervert everything that God has made, because God has made everything good. So he wants to come in and he wants to pervert things. He wants to take everything to this ugly, dark side, and the New Testament writers describe that as being drunk. And there's a good chance, like me, maybe you've never even had alcohol, but you've still been drunk many times in your life. Because you have some kind of vice, some kind of action, something that is going on that you do that causes you to lose control over your faculties, causes you to make stupid choices, causes you to waste time, waste energy. And the list could go on. We could talk about food, right? Well, food is a very important thing. All of us need food to live and to survive and to grow. But food can be perverted into gluttony, where we would be drunk on food, where there's something about us where we maybe eat our feelings, is probably an expression that we're familiar with. Something happens where we begin to feel a certain way, maybe anxious, maybe nervous, well, whatever the case may be, and your default, without even thinking about it, is, I got to eat something. For me, this happens all the time when I sit down to watch a movie or I sit down to watch the news. I have this automatic body response where I have to start putting something in my mouth. I don't know if it's because it makes me nervous or the tension of what's going on in the world. And I constantly find myself having to wrestle with, man, I just want to keep putting food in my mouth even though I'm not even hungry. And this very healthy, very good thing, food, you and I can become drunk on, and it turns to gluttony. There's sleep, right? Sleep is a very good thing. Can I get an amen, right? Sleep is an awesome thing. But sleep, when perverted, turns into sloth. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves in our bed way more than we should. We're not accomplishing anything. We're not doing anything. And this very good, very healthy, very important thing of our lives gets perverted and can become sloth, and we become drunk on sleep. Confidence, right? It's important to be confident in who God made you to be. But confidence, when perverted, can turn into pride. And all of a sudden, you think that you're the man, and you think you're the woman, and everyone should bow at your feet because you know it all. And this very good thing can be perverted, and you and I can become drunk on pride. For some of us, it may be anger. Right? Anger is an emotion. God made our emotions. It's a good thing. We're told that in our anger not to sin, though, right? For some of us, we get drunk on our anger, and anger turns into destruction. And when we're drunk on anger, it can mean the loss of property. It can mean the loss of relationship because of the destruction that it causes. And we've become perfectly comfortable being drunk on anger. On anger, maybe saying this is just the way God made me, this is how I've always been, and we find it acceptable. And in any one of these areas. Entertainment, right? There's nothing wrong with being entertained, but entertainment can be perverted, and all of a sudden you're binge watching things you shouldn't, binge watching for lengths of time you shouldn't. Because drunkenness, Forward Point, is simply just being out of control. Right? This kind of is the nature call of our society, right? If it feels good, do it. So we kind of have this no holds bar, just freedom to, outside of faith, do whatever you want. And the bar is simply, does it feel good? The problem is at some point, somebody else's what feels good to them is going to intersect with what feels good for you, and there's going to be a conflict. And that's where we find ourselves in 2025. So here we are in the midst of all sorts of drunken stupors from different people in different areas of their life. Not necessarily alcohol, but in some areas, some things that they have resorted to, that they have allowed to take over their life, where they are no longer in control, and everybody's just on a mission to feel good. And let's be honest, if it doesn't feel good, you're not doing it right. Right? If it doesn't feel good, then you need to change up your game, because if that's your goal, then it should. And in fact, if we go back to our chart, there's a good chance that for most of us on the outer rings, most of the people in our community, that's where they're living. That's their motive. That's the culture with which we live. And it boggles my mind that we as a church are always just known for being so judgmental towards people. And I say, man, why are we waving and shaking our finger at people that are doing exactly what people are supposed to do? People outside of faith are supposed to live after and chase what's going to make them feel good. Like, if I didn't have a relationship with Jesus, man, I hope that would be exactly how I would be living, because nothing else matters. So people outside of faith, people outside in this community, you at some point, maybe even today, that's what you should be living for. Because you haven't yet given your life over to Jesus and say, you know what, I want to level up in my life. I want to go through this process where it's becoming less about me into the center and leveling up my faith. But this morning, there may be some kind of challenge for you where the Holy Spirit's working inside your heart and saying, man, I have made you and created you for so much more than where you're currently at. Right? Not to say that where you're at is bad or terrible, or, we should lock you up. But what got you to where you are is not going to take you to where He's called you. And even this morning, there's an invitation to become a little bit more sober-minded this morning. To reflect and to look at your life and say, man, what is it that's in my life that's keeping me from leveling up? What is it in my life where I'm a drunkard? I'm a little out of control in some areas. Because when we just shake our finger at the people in our communities and our workplaces for doing exactly what they should be doing apart from Jesus, that's not faith, Forward Point, that's religion. That's just somebody who's gotten drunk on faith, and it makes them feel good to be able to shine the light on somebody else as opposed to look at what's going on in their own heart. It's a drunkenness. Unfortunately, in faith circles, it's become an acceptable drunkenness. In fact, so much so that a lot of people who are like that all kind of gather together and find comfort in each other in doing that. And that's why we have things like denominations and cliques, because people like to be around people who are like them. But Peter says, man, this faith thing, it should be a constant stirring up. And you should be surrounding yourself with people who are going to poke you and challenge you to level up in your faith. And a part of leveling up in your faith is to be alert and of sober minds. And we think in our life, just because maybe we don't see the little devil on our shoulder telling us with the pitchfork, right, to do this, we think that we're in the clear, that it's okay. It's not that bad. And we'd like nothing better to maybe take a good look and have some acceptable drunkenness in our life. But not only is drunkenness being out of control, the reality is drunkenness is dulling the pain. For most of us, this is why we find ourselves in these conditions of drunkenness, is because we are trying to dull some kind of pain in our life. And even when it hurts, the challenge is, the calling is to become sober-minded. That is, in fact, that it is going to hurt more, but we're still called to live a life of sober-mindedness. One of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie, is the movie Braveheart. And towards the end of the movie, William Wallace, who's played by Mel Gibson, he's been captured and he's in prison. And the princess there, she's developed a relationship, a fondness, a love for William Wallace, and she comes to visit him there in the jail cell, and she brings with her this little bottle of liquid to help dull the pain for what he's about to experience. If you've never seen the movie, he's about to be tortured for all the things that he's done as a result of trying to give them their freedom. And they're going to rip him open, they're going to stretch him, they're going to cut parts of him out in a way that's still alive but can feel all this pain. And she doesn't want him to experience and go through that pain. And she offers him this bottle of ointment to dull it. And he says, I can't take it. I have got to have all my wits about me as I go through this. Like, I have got to feel I have got to be as sober-minded as possible. That's the kind of leveling up we're talking about. Jesus on the cross, as he's gone through hours of torture and pain and struggling for every breath, he says that I'm thirsty. And as they take the spear and they put the sponge on it and they dip it in this solution, he begins to taste it, and he recognizes that this gall solution, this bitter wine solution, is a solution that they actually use to help numb the pain as people are experiencing pain. And he spits it out because he refuses to numb himself to the pain that he is about and is currently experiencing, because he has to have all of his wits about him. There's something about this leveling up process. And this is why last week was so important, because we are a bunch of people who are broken, who are fractured. And if intimacy is going to be the backdrop that we can't do alone, there is no way in the world that we can achieve soberness on our own. Talk to any addict of a substance like alcohol, like drugs, any kind of person struggling with mental affliction, any person struggling with pornography. Like, these things are not beatable as much as we'd like to by ourselves. We need the people around us to find healing and wholeness. And to let go of these things is going to be a very painful experience. But you and I, if we're really going to be the followers of Christ that we were called to be, if we're really going to be the church that God has called us to be here in Eastwood and Syracuse, we have got to have all of our wits about us. And if we reflect long enough, we recognize that there is probably a long list of things that are preventing us from being just that. And this morning, one of the stories that I was brought to mind kind of over and over again this last week was when Jesus was healing on the Sabbath. And there was this battle between Jesus and the religious leaders. And when you look at the New Testament, the religious leaders were all this drunken faith people. They had given their lives over to faith, and they'd become drunk on it to the point where they felt it was acceptable to just lord it over the common person. It was acceptable to, pass by people who were in need because it was the Sabbath. And Jesus came to undermine that. And there's this story where he's in this battle with the religious leaders because his disciples were walking through a field, and as they were walking through a field, they were picking some of the grain off of the field. And they challenged Jesus. They say, why do you let your disciples do this on the Sabbath? And Jesus is trying to explain to them that we weren't created for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was created for us, so we would develop a rhythm of rest, but not to be drunk over it. And in the midst of this conversation about the Sabbath, Jesus looks at this man who's there present, and he tells him to stand up. And the thing about this man is very important, is that this man has had a shriveled hand. We don't know if he was born with it. We don't know if it just happened as a result of an injury, but he has a shriveled hand, and it's his right hand. And in that culture, there's a good chance that he was ostracized as a result of it. There's a good chance that he had to live on other people's support because he couldn't work for himself. There's a good chance that as long as he's had this shriveled hand, that he's had to hide it from people. That it's been the one thing that now defines his life. He may have been a good teacher. He may have been a smart guy. He may have been advanced at other things, but now he's got this one affliction that defines who he is because of the way everyone else looks at him. And it's on the Sabbath, and Jesus tells them to stand up. And he doesn't say, man, your hand is healed. You know what he tells this guy? He says, I want you to stretch out your hand. Right? It's the one thing, man, if you could look, just close your eyes for a second and think about the one most embarrassing, the one most thing that you don't want anyone to know about in your life, and think about me just getting up here and just reading it from the microphone. And that's what Jesus just did to this guy. He says, I want you to stretch out your hands. Now, it's nice because you and I, we get to read, and we know the end of the story, and after he stretches out his hand, Jesus heals him, and we think, oh, all is well. But this man never would have gotten to his healing if he would have allowed the shame, if he would have allowed what had defined him up to this point in his life to hold him back. Right? If he stood up and at Jesus' request to extend his hand, if he thought for a second about all of his close friends watching, if he thought about, man, all the work that I had put into being able to hide this and keep people from knowing, and now just in this moment, Jesus wants me to expose all that. There's a good chance that for some of us, we'd turn around and walk away. That we wouldn't be able to enter into what he was about to experience because of the shame, because of the hurts, the pain. But for this man to take his hand out of his cloak and to stand there in front of everybody and stretch out this shriveled hand, whatever it would have looked like, there was a moment, maybe 2 moments, maybe a long pause where he was in the most vulnerable spot of his entire life. And he just trusted Jesus. Trusted Jesus that in him calling him to this place, it wasn't to expose him. It wasn't so that they could mock and laugh him, but it's because Jesus wanted to do something great in his life. And he knew that unless he could redefine himself in his mind, then it wouldn't matter what he did to his body. And for us, Forward Point, we as a human race have become all too comfortable at just getting drunk from time to time. I don't know what your vice is. I don't know what your series of vices is, but there's probably something or some things that God created that are good, that are healthy, but in your hands, they lead to drunkenness. And you think, yeah, it doesn't hurt anybody. Maybe for some of you, it does hurt somebody. Maybe it does cause pain. And as day to day and week to week, you are looking for that little vial of whatever can numb it, whatever can cause the noise to subside, whatever can dull the feelings. This morning, there's a challenge from Peter where he says to pursue being sober-minded. And in fact, if you'll take a step this morning to level up your faith, that the same thing he did for this man with the shriveled hand, he will do for you. And I'm not promising a physical healing, but what I am promising you is if you take a step to pursue intimacy in your life where you're going to be willing to lead with your shriveled hands, then the healing that is going to begin to happen in your minds will be so much greater than any kind of physical healing than it can happen to your body. And for this man, the healing of his hand was not the most important thing that could ever happen to him. You and I reread the story, and that's what we think, man, this guy got a new hand. He's like, the $6 million man. But what happened in his mind as he went through this process of, all of my wits have got to be about me as I am standing before all these people, being mocked and ridiculed, the gasps as they look at this deformity means nothing compared to being lock-eyed with Jesus and him wanting to do something in my life. And this morning, I believe he wants to do the same thing for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to spend the remainder of our time together just responding to that. We're going to sing some songs. There's going to be words on the screen. And I encourage you this morning, just do something that you've never done this morning, that you've never done up to this point in your life. Maybe it's for the first time standing up. Maybe it's for the first time raising your hands. I don't know what it is for you, but what you do with your body is a direct reflection of what is going on in your minds. And this morning, I would encourage you to, with all of your wits about you, to enter into what could be the most vulnerable thing you've done in your life up to this point. And I believe with all my heart, through that expression with the people around, that there will be the start of a healing and a wholeness process in your life. There will be a whole nother leveling up that's going to begin to happen in your spiritual walk this morning. But this morning is kind of just the high intensity, a lot of emotion, feeling it. You got to then get plugged into a group of people, a life group, relationships of people who are going to stir you on to this, because tomorrow morning you're going to wake up and I'm not going to be in your bedroom with another message. Stephen's not going to be playing the pads as you wake up, making you feel all warm and fuzzy. Rubber's going to meet the road. And this has got to become a lifestyle for you. Because the temptation to fall back into the drunkenness is going to be realer tomorrow than it is even right now. And that's when you're going to pick up the phone and call me, call Stephen, call your life group leader, get into a life group. But you're just going to begin to take one little step at a time. What we're going to do here at Forward Point is we're going to normalize sobriety. Because it's not just the people who struggle with alcohol who are sober. It's the people who are leveling up in their faith who are also becoming sober-minded. So we're going to normalize sobriety here at Forward Point. Because it's a part of all of our stories. If we're willing to be bold enough and vulnerable enough to stand up in front of everybody and stretch out our shriveled hands. God, we are so grateful that while we were of no use to you, no good to you, absolutely no positive value we could add to you, you still chose to come and die for a relationship with us. So this morning, God, we pray that you would search our hearts, search our spirits, our souls, that what is it inside of us that we are naturally drawn to put ourselves into a state of drunkenness, where we don't feel, where we're not in control, where in fact we do things that just don't make sense. We waste time, we waste life, we waste energy and resources. And this morning, God, would you help us to begin to place those on the altar? Would you help us to get into your recovery plan? Would you help us to make and normalize sobriety? That's, if we're known for anything, that's what we would become known for, as people who normalize sobriety. And in that, no longer will the enemy be able to undermine and pervert the things that you created, but we will begin to redeem the things that he has perverted in this world. That we can be your agents of redemption. God, that we would be a people who we know each other's names, and we take each other just as we are. We love just where they're at, and we love enough just to stir and to poke a little bit, to push each other towards leveling up in our faith relationship with you. So would you just continue to do a work in our hearts and our minds this morning?
When you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble, the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning, and nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. Worship you. Let's sing that again. When you walk into the room, everything changes. The darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning, and nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. We worship you, Lord. Sing with us, we love you. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. And all this is for you, Jesus. Jesus. Into the room, when you walk into the room, every step starts to vanish, every hopeless situation ceases to exist. When you walk into the room, the dead begin to rise, 'cause there's resurrection life in all you do. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Jesus. Come and consume. Come and consume, God. All we are, we give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. Yeah, sing it again. Come and consume, God. All we are, we give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. Come and consume. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. Make this be our prayer. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. Oh, we want you. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. We love you. We'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Jesus. Jesus.
I could just sit, I could just sit and wait for all your goodness, hope to feel your presence. I could just stay, I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel you, hope to feel something again. I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. I could be safe, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home. never let these walls down. But you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, and you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord, where you lead me.
I could hold on.
I could hold on. I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. And I could be safe, oh, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home. Never let these walls down. But you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, and you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord, where you lead me. Where you lead me, Lord.
I will be yours.
And I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. And I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. And I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy. I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy light the path before me. 'Cause you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, and you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, and you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you lead me, Lord, where you lead me. Where you lead me, Lord, where you lead me. Where you lead me, Lord.
In the darkness, we were waiting without hope, without light. Till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes. To fulfill the law and prophets, to a virgin came the word. From a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom coming and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side. Knowing this was our salvation, Jesus for our sake you died. Let me hear y'all praise the Father. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever And the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath till that stone was moved for good. For the Lamb it conquered death, and the dead rose from the tomb, and the angels stood in awe. For the souls of all who come to the Father are restored, and the Church of Christ was born. Then the Spirit lit the flame, now this gospel truth the world shall not kneel and shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, He has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of kings. Oh, praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of kings. Praise forever to the King of kings. Give me a shout of praise, church.
Yes. Woohoo! Woo! Jesus. Jesus.
All right.
It's been a minute, you guys.
Anyone ready for a little holy water? God, I'm on my knees again. God, I'm begging, please again. I need you. Oh, I need you. Walking down these desert roads, water for my thirsty soul. I need you. Oh, I need you. Let me hear you, everyone. Your forgiveness, like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. Dead man.
Dead man walking, a slave to sin. I want to know about being born again. I need you. Oh, I need you. Take me to the riverside. Take me under, baptize. I need you. Oh, God, I need
Everyone,
you.
your forgiveness, like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony in my ears, like holy water. Your forgiveness, like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony in my ears, like holy water on my skin. I don't want to abuse.
I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't want to abuse your grace. But God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of the symphony to my ears, like holy water. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of cinnamon in my ears, like holy water on my skin, like holy water on my skin, like holy water.
I don't know about you. That was great. That was a great message conversation. Thank you. If you are new here, again, we just want to thank you for coming in. Text that word, welcome to 315-888 or 883-2213. And please download the Church Center app. Jimmy, at the end of the conversation, was talking about life groups. Find a life group in there if you are not connected yet. It is never too late or too early to join one. Please feel free to jump in at any time.
Absolutely. Here at Forward Point, we kind of believe in living a generous lifestyle and what that looks like, giving out to the community. Over the summer, we kind of talked about a program called Care Portal. I know it's kind of dwindled down and we haven't really talked about it recently. That's because they were building networks. And for those of you who don't know, Care Portal is a nonprofit organization that partners with local churches and the state. And they work with getting into it families of need, whether it's furniture, whether it's clothes, whether it's formula, diapers, whatever that family needs to kind of stay together. And we finally got our first request. So I'm happy to report that coming this Saturday, we're going to be meeting the need of a single mom that has 6 children. We're going to be providing a couch and pots and pans, and they have several other needs at other churches in the community that are going to be joining us and meeting that. As this continues on, we're expecting more requests to come in, and part of that is the generosity that's given to us and the resources that are provided to us. So whether it's financial, whether it's clothes, whether it's furniture, you can reach out. Here at Forward Point, we're trying to bridge those into the community. There's many different ways that you can do that. You can do that in person by giving at the Joy Box that's located right here. You can do it by texting any amount to 84321 on the Church Center app or on www.forwardpoint.org/give. Any of those ways you can give to many different areas of what Forward Point is trying to do. So please reach out and do that. It's very much appreciated.
As always, we have our prayer team back in the corner that will pray with you about anything. If there's something on your heart, if you need someone to come alongside with you to pray out that drunkenness this morning, please join them in the back. It is a great tool that we have here.
Absolutely. And please don't forget, kids, pick them up. They left it. Very happy to go, but I know they'll be very happy to join you back.
And many hands make a light work, so if you have a few minutes right after today, please meet us in the back corner. We will give you some brooms and dustpans and all of that. Let's get the palace back up to how we found it, even better, because we always want to thank them for letting us have this space.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do have a prayer, you're in need of some kind of prayer, before you leave, make sure there's a prayer corner. Somebody will be back there to pray for you. That's it, right?
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great week, everyone.